TG Geeks, episode 327, May 24th, 2021. Generation Seed Ships and Dropnauts. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely, we're on vacation with my favorite sister and her husband, John, Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, coming to you from also Phoenix, Arizona, where I am more tired on vacation than I am on a normal work week.
Exactly. Let's get on with this show.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this episode, we are going to talk to author J. Scott Coatsworth. We've talked to him a couple of times about a couple of things, and he's got a brand new book out. So we're going to talk to him about that, as well as some of the other stuff that he's done. We have our birthday shout-outs, our featured podcast of the week, and everybody's favorite feedback, our regular shout-outs, and we have a second segment, but who knows what we'll talk about. There's nothing written down at the moment.
Not at the
we'll
moment.
see what the time allows.
We'll play by
and
ear.
then we're going to have our wacky recap and regular shout-outs. So here we go with Scott. And we welcome back to our show Mr. J. Scott Coatsworth, author extraordinaire. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, thank you.
Or welcome back, I should say.
Yeah.
So we're here to
talk to you guys again.
Yeah, we're here to talk about something new that you have going on. But before we do that, let's give our listeners, for those that haven't listened to the previous interview that we have done with you, tell us who you are.
Interviews, I think.
Interviews, yeah. Haven't we talked to you a couple of times? I think
this is.
so.
I think this is our third time.
Yeah. So tell our listeners who you are, kind of how you got into writing, that whole elevator pitch as if you're going to the top of the Empire State Building of your life up till present day.
Ooh, the pressure.
Yeah, it's all on you now.
Yeah.
I've always been. Thank you. I've always been a writer. I started writing when I was in elementary school, and when I first got serious about writing a novel when I got out of high school. I finished one, shelved it because it kind of sucked. Finished another and sent it out to a bunch of publishers, and it took about a year, but every single one rejected it. That was when I was maybe 25 or so, and I kind of gave up on writing until my mid-40s. At that point, I came back to it again, and I actually started in the MM romance side because I knew a lot of folks over there and a lot of publishers there that were looking for material, and published my first short story in 2014. And since then, I've kind of worked more back over to my first love, which is sci-fi, fantasy, magical realism, and this thing that I have always loved but never knew what it was called, sci-fantasy or science fantasy, which is where you've got kind of elements of science fiction and elements of fantasy mixed in the same book, like Ian McCaffrey's Pern, which technically is sci-fi, but has dragons.
Right.
Or you might have something that has, spaceships and magic. So I'm kind of writing a lot of stuff in that kind of middle space over to the sci-fi side now.
Cool. Or like Piers Anthony's The Adept series. That was.
Oh yeah, so I love that series. That's one of my favorites.
Oh my God! When I read that, it was just like, oh my gosh, I have found where I belong. So
I think I was like 14 or 15 when I read the first book in that, and there was a whole bit about the robot who was this buxom female robot, and I think that part of that was lost on me as a gay teenager,
right?
But I still loved it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have done quite a few series that we've talked about. We talked to you, I think, early on in the Ariadne series, and then once you finished that, and which I loved that whole series. And I read a number of your short stories and novellas and whatnot. In fact, I have read what you are currently pushing, and I want to talk about that.
Talk about hijacking the interview.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I'm sure that's what you want to talk about too, but
that's up there near the top, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us what this new project is that you've got going on and what new thing that you have.
Sure, so I can kind of loop in those other series. I actually had written the Ariadne series as Liminal Sky originally, and then I had another series, which was my Oberon Cycle series. And at some point I was writing the two in tandem, writing one book of one and one of the other all the way through, which is a horrible thing to do, and never do that if you're a writer. But it did give me the opportunity to realize that they were actually the same universe, separated by about 1,500 years. And so by the last book in each one, I started making some kind of Easter egg connections between the two. But I had a problem because in the Ariadne Cycle series, I had destroyed the Earth.
Right.
And in the later Oberon Cycle series, the Earth was fine, including a reference to, I think, San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge. So I had to somehow figure out between the two how to undestroy the Earth so that by the second series, Earth would be around again.
Right.
And that's where, this new project came in. I was looking for an idea for a standalone novel, which, of course, it's not going to stay that way, but it is for now. And I thought, well, what if there was someone still alive somewhere in the solar system, and they chose the moon because it was easy, and they decided that because of the dangers posed to them on the moon, that they had to get back to Earth. And Earth, at this point, after about 117 years, a lot of the worst things that happened during the last war and collapse have kind of started to go away, along with the help from the humans that are on the moon. And they decide to plan to drop back down to the Earth. And so rather than having astronauts, they're Dropnauts, which is the name of the book. A group of folks that's going to go down and survey what's there and see if they can get some of the old fabrication factories restarted to prepare the way to have humans recolonize the Earth.
Right.
So it kind of came out of this weird, like I'm squishing these two series together and there's a big problem. And so it's kind of a strange origin for the book, but that's how it came about.
Well, I think you did a great job. I really enjoyed having read the Ariadne series, and then, you gave me a pre-advance copy of Dropnauts. Has it changed since then? Because it was well over a year ago when, oh my gosh, it was, well over a year ago since I read that. Have you made any changes to it?
I made a couple changes. I made a couple of things. So I did submit it to agents to try to get an agent. Was not successful with that, but I got some feedback on it from that and from Pitch Wars that I put it into as well. I don't know if you got the copy that had, I basically chopped off the first 3 chapters and started with the part where they're actually leaving the moon.
Yeah.
So that changed a bit. And then beyond that, I went through, once I got it back, finally from the agent querying, I did another run-through for characterization and just try to kind of pump up the characterizations. That's a criticism that I got from some of my folks that responded to me about it. But the overall story itself is still the same.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a great tie-in with the other series because it was, there were the Easter eggs of the different pieces and parts and talking about, the tie-ins, shall we say, without giving too much away. And I thought that it was just an incredible story to tell about the same universe, only a different time period, and what happened with those that were left behind.
I want to jump on that because you said something earlier that caught my attention, and this is one of the things that I love about talking about writers. You had mentioned that now originally, before you realized that you had these 2 stories that you were writing pretty much at the same time. At one point, it had not occurred to you that these 2 things were in the same universe. So as far as you were concerned, you were writing 2 entirely separate stories. Now, we've talked to a number of authors who have done this. They write more than one thing at a time. But my question for you is, what in God's name possessed you to do that?
You mean to put them together or to write separate universes?
I'm sorry?
You mean to put them together or to write in separate
Well, just write in separate
universes?
universes at first. Before, I mean, we'll talk about the realization that they were the same. But why? I mean, obviously, when you started doing this, it had not occurred to you that these were in the same universe. So, as far as you were concerned, at that beginning moment, these were two entirely separate stories. And so, what possessed you to want to take on that kind of a challenge?
Well, see,
The insanity of being a writer.
It goes back to it goes back to the origin of the story. So the Oberon series actually was from a 3 or 4 scene. I call it a story starter. It's basically I have a bunch of things that when I was in my 20s I started writing, and I would have this habit of sitting down and just like not thinking things through and just kind of pantsing it. And I would go gung-ho for about maybe 5, 10, 15 pages, and then I would run out of steam and I'd never finish the story. So I had this story in 2013 or so that I pulled out that was my first story with a gay character. And it was this scene with, it's not, there's basically a sex scene at the beginning of the story, and it's not described in a super graphic way, but it is there. And it was the first time I kind of let myself put pen to paper and write a gay character. And so that I pulled out and started working on to make it into a full-length novel. Didn't work out. I got kind of stuck again, but then NaNoWriMo came by the National Novel Writing Month. And I decided to make that my project. And in 30 days, I put together the manuscript, the basic manuscript for that story. At the same time, I had the book that I'd written in my 20s that never got sold. And it was about this generation ship, and about halfway through its journey and kind of a sci-fi fantasy mix. And I decided I wanted to reboot that, and I wanted to figure out how that world got started. So I wrote this novella called Seedling. And Seedling was the origin of this world, how it's grown from a seed and becomes this entire world. And those two things kind of just were happening side by side. I took them to a publisher at a retreat that I went to and pitched them, and the publisher wanted both. And so I sat down and just started working on one of them and then working on the other one. And they really did evolve in their own ways organically from different things. And it wasn't, like I said, until I got partway through the second book that I remembered how much I loved Isaac Asimov when he had written all these different series. And then over time, he went back and wrote fillers to connect them. And so you got this whole history of his universe from all these different pieces that all melded into the one. I think it was like 30-some book tapestry that you could, in theory, read from start to finish. And even to the point of having some of the characters in the really early robot books, or when the characters there show up much later in the Foundation books. So, I kind of wanted that connection and that kind of a sense of aha when you get through it and you realize that, ooh, wait, I read this over there and this back here and this is that. So it really did kind of just happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're trying to be Larry Niven. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, I love the idea. In fact, that's one of the things that I loved about Niven when he was writing his Tales of the Known Universe, or like I said with Asimov, trying to write this incredibly cohesive, universal type story. I actually love that kind of thing. I love it when bridges are being built like that. So, and you answered my second question, which was, what was the aha moment for you that made you say, oh, I could actually bridge this? Because was there a specific aha moment during the creative process? I mean, was it just a simple post thought, like, I could do this, or was there a moment during the creation where you thought, oh my God, I'm writing two different stories, but they're in the same universe. I didn't even realize that. I mean, how did that happen?
I think it was I was thinking about in the Oberon series where the Sky Thing came from, and they were the first settlers of Oberon, the first human settlers of Oberon. And how come they have wings and other humans don't have wings? And I do kind of explain that part of it in the last book, but it occurred to me there was some kind of ship that brought them there. And then I was thinking, well, what if it was this ship? And going back to the whole, forever liminal sky, Ariadne Cycle thing. So yeah, it was kind of a slow realization and thought process to think it through. I will tell you, just to go off on a tangent, because you said I could, the work in progress I'm doing now, it's a sci-fi fantasy set on another world, And I, again, originally intended for this world to be entirely separate from the current timeline, current universe. And I did, once again, destroy the Earth, and I'm very sorry about that.
Apologies are welcome.
But I think I'm really thinking about inserting this in between the two timelines. But then I have another, conundrum for myself, having destroyed the Earth once again, to decide whether I actually did destroy the Earth or whether the people of this planet just think the Earth was destroyed. But I'm thinking it would be really cool to have this. There's some links that I'm looking at making from this to the Oberon series, going back to the Athenians, to the other aliens that were their enemies, and being tied into this story.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I have a really weird writer brain. I mean, I guess it's just a writer brain, you call it. But
yeah, I was going to say there's no such thing as there's no such thing as a non-weird writer brain. I mean, we need to establish that now.
Fair enough.
So maybe that
I establish connections,
Yeah, maybe this new universe or connecting story tells us how they get the wings. Who knows?
This is a whole different set of characters, and a whole different thing. It's really it actually was not supposed to be, but apparently it's a young adult story. I wrote it and then sent it to my editor, and my editor said, this is a YA story. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, well, you have a group of characters that have just come of age that are basically finding out who they are and going through this quest arc. This is a YA story. So,
interesting.
Yeah, we had kind of a fight over that, but it's a whole. I don't want to tell too much about it at this point, but it's really a sci-fi fantasy, and it involves Sword of Dragons.
Cool. So I just want to go back and hit something that I always hit on when we talk to you, because of where you grew up and the fact that it somewhat influenced what you have written, and that is you grew up in Tucson and the Biosphere in Tucson, and that's kind of what the generation ships, and then also in other places, shall we say, without giving anything away.
Yeah, that gave nothing away.
Yeah, my mom's house is where I grew up. She's still there, and she's 5 miles from the Biosphere. And I actually never been to it until a couple of years ago when we went to visit her, and you can now go tour it. It's a tourist attraction now. But when they were first building it in the 80s, I had my heart set on being one of the Biosphereans, and I had no idea how to do it. I figured they probably wanted astronauts and scientists and that, and I was none of those things. But I so wanted to get locked up in that place and just live there for 3 years and pretend I was on another planet. So yeah, that did influence things. The Biosphere, the whole idea behind it, and I don't think it ever quite fulfilled this because they had a medical emergency and had to shut it down. But it was, can you build an entirely closed ecosystem and have it become self-sustaining, and what does that take?
Right.
You can't put any stuff into it. You can't take anything out of it. Because if you're in a spaceship in the middle of nowhere, you can't go get more water. You can't, go buy some more plants at Home Depot. So, yeah, it was this really cool idea of, put a bunch of people inside this place and then put the systems in place and see if you can maintain it. Yeah.
Well, I thought the as you call it now, the Ariadne series, but the Liminal Sky was so unlike anything that I had ever read, and it was just I thought it was great, the whole series. And then, of course, this offshoot with Dropnauts comes, and of course I ate it up because it was related to that. And I just like the way you write. So,
thank you. Well, I'll tell you a secret. I'm planning, after I finish this current trilogy, which I'm on the third book right now, to go back to this world. And I've got another novel that I'm just starting to plan. It's going to be called Core Divers.
Interesting.
So all part of the same universe, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it'll be a direct follow-up to Dropnauts. It'll include some of the same characters. I may cut back a little bit on the character list because 9 active point of views turned out to be a little too much for some readers.
Oh, that can be distracting.
Yeah.
But Dropnauts was the first one in the series because it's most closely related to the Ariadne Cycle that was also not 3 separate novellas. It's its own, one long slog through the whole story. So I think I was able to do that better with the 3 novella format, because you could focus on 3 or 4 characters in one, and then shift to the next one and pick, maybe one of those and a couple other characters, and it kept it a little less crazy epic. But yeah, I'm going to work on that one next after I finish this current trilogy.
So, earlier you had made mention of Asimov and how he would like to connect everything, create this lovely tapestry of a single universe work, if you will. Is that something that you foresee, at least, in the near future? Do you see yourself continuing to work in that kind of mode, or do you actually seeing yourself just completely break off and doing something entirely different that you deliberately want to be detached, or is it just too soon to even know?
I think I wanted to do a fantasy, and then the one I'm working on, the sci fantasy, kind of scratches that itch, but it's not a true full-on, magic fantasy. So I'm thinking I might, after Core Divers, take a break from science fiction and actually work on a fantasy project. I've thought about going back to Kalidama and extending that out, which is my trans man meets elf in post-climate change San Francisco, because it was a novella that kind of just cut off without really giving you... I mean, it had a satisfying ending, but there was a lot more that I could tell in that story.
Yes,
or I might
there
do
is.
something that's brand new, but it would be fun to do something on the, really on the fantasy side.
Yeah.
But as you pointed out earlier, I mean, you're not doing this sci fantasy kind of thing. What's to say that you can't at some point maybe give an emphasis on the fantasy portion as opposed to the sci portion? And I liken this to, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in that you've got these movies, each with a completely and totally unique tone that to the layperson will take one look at that and say, I can't see how you could possibly link all that into one big thing. And yet they did. So that's why I was wondering, do you think that that's a possibility that, even though you want to take a heavier stab at fantasy, is it something that you think you still might be able to retcon into this universe that you've managed to put together so far?
I guess it's possible. I can't remember the name of that show. There was a show that was in Storybook in Maine. It was all the different characters from all the different, you had the Captain Hook and you had Snow White. And,
yes. It was
Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time.
I kind of found that show fascinating, but I kind of hated it because it was almost impure to me. It was like it was taking so many pieces of so many things and jamming them all together, and it was fascinating, but it was fascinating like a car wreck. For me, I mean, when I write, and I've read stuff that really mixes magic and sci-fi, for me, at least in this universe, it really is a sci-fi-based universe, so everything has a science fiction explanation. There's something behind it. It's not, I mean, there's a little bit of mysticism in some of the books in terms of religion and, where we go when we die and how close AIs are to having souls and things. But in terms of flat out like having magic or things like that, it doesn't really exist in this universe, and this series that I'm working on is probably the closest I will get to that. But it would be fun to do something that was separated from this, that was more of that. I want to keep the rules in the universe consistent. And even when they seem inconsistent, I want to know why they are that way. It's just the kind of control freak writer in me. So I'm not sure I would do that in this one, but I might do that somewhere else.
Well, as I've always said to creative people, there are only 2 ways of creating your art, and that is your way and the wrong way. So by all means, you need to do it the way that you have to do it the way that you feel it works best. So with all of that, and since we're coming up against the time, where can people find you on social media, if you have a social media presence? And then second, where can they find your stuff to buy and read?
Sure, and I'm going to squeeze one quick pitch in here. Last month I released a book called Fix the World, which is an anthology of hopeful spec fics, so check that out as well.
Good.
I'm all over social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. My own website is jscottcoatsworth.com, so you can find me there. My books just started going wide again. So I was in Amazon and Kindle Unlimited, and I'm moving my books out now to where you can get them on any ebook vendor. And I'm also working with Ingram Spark bit by bit to get my books out to where they're orderable from bookstores.
Yes.
So hopefully by the end of the year, all my novels will be available in stores as well.
Cool. And Dropnauts was available as of May 10th.
Yes, I bought it, in fact.
Yep. So that
Yay.
I bought a copy as well, even though I had a copy. I have to read it again and I have to support you. So
Okay, wait. So 1, 2, and you and my mother. So that's the 3 I sold. Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Scott, thank you so much for being on our show again.
Thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun.
You don't need to hear their identification. They're the Two Gay Geeks. They can go about their business. Move along.
It's always fun talking to Scott.
Well,
He always has something interesting.
Well,
to
it was
talk
also
about.
very illuminating to see how much he was affected by Asimov
Yeah.
as an author, and to take these two entirely different stories, and all of a sudden he decides that he's going to start doing world building with them.
Yeah.
I
That
kinda
they-
like
They
that.
lived in the same universe,
It
and he
was-
had to write a connector story.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot.
Yeah, it's fascinating, huh? And Dropnauts is a great book. I really enjoyed it when I read it last year when he gave me the advanced reading copy when he was shopping it around.
As I said, I purchased a copy of it. I've got something else I need to do right now, but
You'll like it.
I'm sure I will.
It's a good standalone. It's a good standalone. All right, here's a few selected birthdays for May 24th through May 30th, 2021. May 24th, Queen Victoria. Wow, she was 1819 to 1901, and her reign was 63 years and 7 months. And at that point, she was the longest reigning monarch ever.
Yeah.
Now beaten by her
great-granddaughter, something like that?
And Queen Elizabeth. Then we have Alfred Molina.
I love this guy.
Actor, Indiana Jones, Spider-Man, Frida. He's a fan of jazz. He likes jazz.
Yes, he does. He's a bit of a musician himself, if I'm not mistaken, and he will be in the upcoming Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Reprising his role as Doc Ock.
Yeah, and he was forever grateful for the Indiana Jones film because
That was his breakthrough, wasn't
Yeah,
it? That was his breakout role.
Yep, and his wife was pregnant, so it allowed him to buy all the necessary things and get a nice apartment.
And it was a tiny part, too.
It was. Then we have Doug Jones, actor. Oh my gosh, many things.
So awesome.
And so many different things, and mostly in pretty heavy makeup. And his Star Trek Discovery as Saru. He has double jointed knees.
Yes, he does. That
That's
allows
just
him to
bizarre.
kind of do some of the things that he does, especially as Saru. Although I'm sure he was quite delighted when he got to actually wear sans makeup last
Yes.
year in Discovery.
Exactly. John C. Reilly, actor. He was in Chicago, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Wreck-It Ralph. I'm gonna wreck it. Greg Berlanti, producer, out gay man, producer of everything, including Love, Simon.
All the CW
Oh my
stuff.
gosh.
Yeah.
It's amazing what the man has done.
And there is still talk that he wants to produce a movie version of Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Oh,
which I would love to see.
That would be great. And then we have Facebook friend Justin Cruz. May 25th, Ian McKellen, actor, out gay man, Lord of the Rings, Gods and Monsters. He played James Whale in Gods and Monsters. And X-Man. He was Salieri in the Broadway production of Amadeus.
Right. Yes, I heard that.
So, bizarre, huh?
And the man is a brilliant actor. Anytime you get to see him act opposite another actor of equal character or caliber, it's
and
just
best
a joy.
friends of Patrick Stewart. Yep.
And he's also very good friends with Derek Jacobi, whom he had a mad crush on when he was younger.
Yep. And Octavia Spencer, actress, The Help, Witches. She's dyslexic.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so she has to learn her parts in a completely different way than
I was
just
about to
trying
make a
read
horrible
them.
joke
Yeah.
and decided against it.
Yep, and loves antiques. Frank Oz, puppeteer extraordinaire, I would guess you could say.
Yeah.
He was 19 when he started working with Jim Henson.
Oh, my word.
Voice of Yoda. He no longer signs autographs because too many of them have wound up on
eBay?
eBay and
pathetic.
various other sites.
Well, I don't blame him.
Yep. Beverly Sills,
Bubbles.
opera singer, Bubbles, sang everything from Handel to bel canto to Puccini. She was a cacolatura. There
Yeah,
we go.
right.
I say it right. Coloratura. She sang all the female parts in Hoffman for one production.
That's what kind of launched her
actually,
career, wasn't it?
That and singing in Marriage of Figaro. Not Marriage of Figaro.
Don Giovanni?
No.
Magic Flute.
The other thing with Figaro in it.
Oh, Barbara of Seville.
Barbara of Seville,
I thought
yes.
you were I was going to name off Mozart operas because
Wow.
that's where I thought you were headed.
No. And she sang all of Donizetti's Queens, which actually kind of was the end of her career.
Right.
After she did Roberto Devereux. But she was just a wonderful human being, and she was the director of the New York City Opera for many years, and brought them back from the brink of destitution, I think it was.
Right.
And just really, I enjoyed seeing her on stage. May 26th, Sally Ride, astronaut and physicist. She was an out lesbian, first American woman in space, and the youngest astronaut to go into space.
Indeed.
At that point, yep. Sadly died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 61 in 2012.
That's sad.
Peter Cushing.
Thus begins
actor.
the holy trinity of horror actors.
Exactly. What is there to say about Peter Cushing other than he was just absolutely incredible? And
He really was.
And in the most recent Star Wars film, he was incredible too.
Yeah.
20 years after he died. Or
Yeah,
so.
but it was fun to. Oh yes, but still, the man's acting is not to be believed. Especially when you get to watch him opposite Christopher Lee.
Yep.
I mean, well, for one thing, the friendship those two of them had, but also to see. I've always said that Peter Cushing was the definitive Van Helsing.
Yep. And to see him opposite Christopher Lee playing Dracula. So.
Oh God, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that is the pairing.
And then we have Dorothea Lange, photographer of the Depression era. Her most famous photograph is the thinking woman.
The thinking woman, yeah.
Just caught the essence of the Depression and the trek towards Bakersfield. Then we have Roy Dotress, actor, Beauty and the Beast TV series. He was in Amadeus, The Game of Thrones, died at the age of 94 in 2017.
Wow, he's also the
Lived a
father
long,
of
long line.
He's the father of Karen Dotress, who was in Mary Poppins.
Yep. And then we have Clint Borzoni.
Happy birthday, Clint!
Happy birthday, Clint. He is the composer of The Copper Queen, as well as several other different pieces. We just had dinner with him and John De Los Santos.
Right.
This last week.
Last
Yep.
week. God, it feels like last month.
I know. May 27th, Christopher Lee.
The second
actor,
one of the Holy
another
Trinity.
of the greats, yes.
Yes.
He was, wow. the story of him on The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I know.
And his, he says,
I can't
Christopher?
climb these GD steps.
yes. And then
Well, you did it this morning.
Peter
Jackson
says,
said, "You did it this morning."
You did it this morning. Then we
Yeah,
have
talk about keeping a man humble.
exactly. Paul Bettany, actor, was in Da Vinci Code, The Iron Man's as Jarvis, and then Vision in the MCU.
He was told not to take the part of Jarvis. His agent said, "This will destroy your career. You will sink and you will never get another job again."
Oh my God,
Yet
it
he
was the
takes
best thing for
and-
his career.
Exactly, because he becomes Vision, who now looks like has got a second lease on life.
Yep.
He got to appear in Solo, a Star Wars story. I think the guy's career is better now than it was before he did it.
And WandaVision. He also plays guitar.
Oh, how nice.
Yep. Vincent Price.
Number
There's
3.
the Trinity. Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing. Another of the great. I love the Hammer films that Vincent Price did.
I don't remember.
Not
Dr.
the Hammer films. Oh,
Dr. Phibes.
the Dr. Phibes, but all of
he did
the
some
Poe
movies.
films.
Yeah, he did the Poe films that were Roger Corman.
Roger Corman, that's who it was, yes. My error. Harlan Ellison.
Okay, now that's the fourth horror. No, I'm just joking.
He is a horror.
He was.
He's a writer, irascible personality.
Terribly.
And the advice that he gave to Joe Straczynski, him.
Yeah, Joe Straczynski of
He
Babylon
said,
5.
Don't write crap. Because he said, how do you become a good writer? And he said, don't write crap. Yeah. Then we have Jeff Gordon, a friend of ours, and Jana Halford. Happy birthday, Jana. May 28th, Gladys Knight, singer, 60s through the 80s and beyond. Her number one hit, Midnight Train to Georgia, is still a favorite. Exactly. And Jim Thorpe, athlete, born in 1887 in Indian Territory, Oklahoma, is an Olympic gold medalist. And one of our favoriteest peoples, Patricia Chica. Happy birthday, Patricia.
Happy birthday.
May 29th, Danny Elfman, musician, scored most of Tim Burton's films and claims that Bernard Herrmann was an influence on his career.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, bizarre. And Gilbert K. Chesterton, philosopher, lay theologian, and writer, was said to be the prince of paradox in his writings by using popular sayings, proverbs, and allegories by carefully turning them inside out. He was also the creator of Father Brown.
Oh, no kidding.
The character Father Brown,
Far
yes.
out.
And David Burka, actor and chef, out gay man, Mr. Neil Patrick Harris.
That's right.
They have 2 children. They've been in a relationship since 2004 and got married in 2014. May 30th, Adele Dazeem.
Well played.
Or Idina Menzel. That's her name, yes.
Thank you, John Travolta.
Exactly.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Exactly. She will be on the list forever. Forever.
As Adele
Adele
Dazeem. That's never going away.
Never. Actress and singer. Thanks to her, we have to let it go.
I know.
Mel Blanc, man of 1,000 voices. We were just talking about the Roadrunner and the Coyote here the other day because we saw Roadrunner.
Yeah, we did. Of course, Mel Blanc did very little to voice those.
Yeah, well, but anyway, he was in all the other cartoons.
True.
But he was actually in a car accident in 1961 that almost killed him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, he was in a coma for quite some time, and they tried to revive him, but just were not having luck. But one of the doctors thought, let me try this. And he said, hey, Bugs Bunny, are you in there? And Mel says, what's up, Doc?
Oh, my, you're joking.
And then they talked to several different characters and let him out of his coma.
That really speaks to the whole idea, that I've always asked authors, do these characters come to life? Well, obviously they did with him.
Yeah. And actually at the same time, the Flintstones was in production. And he
did Barney Rubble on that one.
I think so. They did the recording in his hospital room in a full body cast with the rest of the cast crowded into the room.
Oh, far out.
With him. Yep. And then we have Colm Meaney, actor, Miles O'Brien in Star Trek, Next Generation, and also Deep Space Nine. And Michael J. Pollard, actor, John, he's a Bonk.
Ah, yes.
And Herman in Scrooged. I don't know why that autocorrect did scrolled instead of Scrooged.
Yeah,
okay.
Brand new movie.
And then good friend of ours, Shoshana Tanser. Happy birthday, Shoshana. And that's it for the birthdays this time. Wrong.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad?
Not me, that's for sure.
How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name.
Not anymore.
They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
Hopefully, we will be in the studio with them maybe just in a few weeks.
In a few weeks, yeah, that'd be great.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
We want to give a shout out, as always, to the Joshua Tree Feeding Program. They are a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV and AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. Joshua Tree offers a place where clients can select a wide variety of nutritional items to take home, foods, and as well as supplements and pet food. They also set it up like a store so the clients can pick and choose the food they want, and it empowers them to take only what they want and need so no food is wasted. They're now opening up a second distribution day for those in the gender non-conforming community that may be experiencing food insecurity regardless of HIV status. They are an all-volunteer organization, and they could use your help. If you want to if you want to volunteer, I'm sure they would love to have volunteers. But if you want to make a gift to Joshua Tree, you can do the single gift or a monthly recurring gift by going to jtfp.org.
And it's time for our feedback, and each of the articles that generated these feedback comments will be featured in the show notes for this episode number 327 at our website, tggeeks.com, starting with, regarding Fanbase Press to release Nuclear Power #1 on April 21st. Got a comment from Barbara Dillon of Fanbase Press. Actually, no, this was #1.
Oh, #1?
This was #1.
On April 21st.
On April 21st,
Sorry.
yeah.
Oops, you're that far behind.
That's how far back. That is how far back we are on our feedback.
Because #2 was just released this last week.
I know. But that's how far back we are. So, got a comment from Barbara Dillon of Fanbase Press. She says, "My goodness, thank you, and Aaron, so much for this absolutely incredible review of Nuclear Power. We are so grateful that issue #1 connected with you, and we can't wait for you to check out the rest of the series." And, of course, since then, #2 has come out. Got a comment from Brian Dillon, Barbara's husband, also at Fanbase Press. He says, "Thank you for the amazing and thoughtful review." Got a comment from Desiree Proctor, one of the writers. She says, "Thank you for the kind words." Got a comment from Erica Harrell, also the other writer, saying, "Thank you so much for this amazing review." Moving on, regarding Hamish Downey's new Sushi #116, Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond, got a comment from Felicity Tilak, who says, "Thanks for featuring my Japan story video on New Sushi."
Yay.
Moving on, regarding TG Geeks episode number 322, got a comment from Kara Ballinger. She says, "Thank you so much for having us. We had so much fun talking with the both of you, and we can't wait to do it again soon." Kara, we had a great time talking to you as well. And got a comment from Hamish Downey. He added a little bit of feedback to that, and he says, "Ben and Keith are great." Oh, thank you, Hamish. We love you too. And in that episode, we also mentioned it was Tim Curry's birthday. So I got a comment from Arkle, who decided to be snarky again. And he says, "Was Tim Curry in Clue, or was that just a red herring?" Hashtag, but Arkle, you should be ashamed of yourself. Moving on, regarding Ben's breakdown, Godzilla vs. Kong delivers the goods, but is it art? We got a comment from Michael Hickerson. Hicks says, "Godzilla vs. Kong does double duty, not only as the title for this movie, but also a plot summary. Look, I appreciate all this character work and attempts to set up a reason why these two movie icons are going to fight, but I'm really here for one thing. To see Godzilla and Kong duke it out. Yeah, and everybody else.
Exactly.
As you point out, the movie stalls when the two titans aren't on screen together, and I call the real reason behind the needed new energy source long before the movie revealed it to me. That said, this was a pure popcorn movie that my inner child loved. I'm not steeped in the lore of Godzilla, so I don't know how faithful to the original spirit and intent it was, but man, I had fun with this, a lot more than I expected, and I will agree, this was a movie that served only one purpose, and that was to entertain.
Exactly.
Moving on, regarding Ben's breakdown, Debris, Season 1, 3-episode thoughts. See how far back we are on this? Got more from Hicks.
We quit watching that.
After episode 3. Yeah, after episode 3, we stopped watching. Got a comment from Hicks. He says, I've watched 3 episodes, maybe 4, and this one just hasn't set the hook in me yet. And with news that it's on the cancellation bubble, I'm not sure how much more invested I want to get. Of course, that assumes I'm invested now. Given that I'm letting this stack on the DVR and not watching them right away, I have to say, probably not invested. The X-Files and Fringe both build on solid characters that viewers care about by the end of the first episode, and there were hints of an overall mythology put in place as well early on. With this one, I felt like any time we've seen pieces of an overall mythology, it might as well have a flashing sign on screen that says, "Hey, we're doing some mythology stuff here, pay attention." Given that I could probably fast forward past the mystery of the week to this mythology stuff and not feel like I'm missing anything, I guess I'm probably out on this one. Hicks, I could not agree with you more, and that is our feedback.
And you can leave a comment on our Facebook page or any place else that you find our stuff, such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, our website, tggeeks.com.
And that's where Hicks left both those comments.
Exactly. And you can do that on anything that we publish. We would love to hear from you. Tell us what you think.
Speaking of hear from you.
Hear from you. We also have a listener feedback line, and you can call us, leave us a voicemail, and we will play it on air, just like our niece did and several other people, like Pia did. I wish you would leave us another one.
Yes, please.
You can call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice. We are huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. If you see them somewhere, hopefully
buy their
soon.
Stuff. Yes, hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. You will see them.
Before the end of the year.
Yes, at conventions. But otherwise, go to their Facebook pages, their Etsy pages, their websites, their Twitter, Instagram, wherever else you might find them.
Any kind of fundraising, they may be crowdfunding like, Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
Exactly. Buy their stuff, talk to them about their stuff, talk to other people about their stuff, and please buy their stuff. Did I say that?
Yes, you did, but you can't emphasize it enough.
Please consider supporting independent creators. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Well,
as John's mother would say. Well.
We've been on
We are on
vacation.
Yes, we are on vacation. That's why you'll find out here in a minute we don't have anything for
So we don't have
Saturday.
nothing scheduled yet.
But we went to Organ Pipe National
That was
Monument
cool.
the
You
other
and I
day.
talked about going down there for some time, but it was really neat to go
Yeah,
there.
and my favorite sister Lynn and her husband John, and she will always say, "I'm your only sister."
Yeah, I heard that a lot these last couple of days.
exactly, because I always say it. She's my favorite sister.
She's smirking and John's laughing in the background.
They're sitting over here listening to us do our insanity here. But we did that, and then what did we do yesterday? Oh, we went to the Desert Botanical
Yeah, I
Gardens.
forgot already. I mean,
And
we've
then
been doing so much.
Wore myself out, and let's see. Sunday we did. Was it? What did we do Sunday?
I honestly don't remember.
What the hell did we do Sunday?
What did we do Sunday? Do you remember? Oh, we went to MIM.
Oh, that's right. The Musical Instrument Museum. Wow, God. It's like
Well, there was
you're not supposed to be worn out on the second day of your vacation.
I know, and
so-
it's amazing because that was just the other day, which was a month ago.
Exactly. And then tomorrow we actually did Jerome and Cottonwood today. Some wine tasting.
Oh, I got so drunk.
Wandered.
I got so stinking drunk. Yikes.
I don't know how you did that, but
Well, it's called having 2 flights of wine without anything in your
I
stomach.
see.
And also higher elevation, alcohol gets to you a lot faster.
Yeah.
Well, I was
keep telling
told-
yourself that.
Hey. I was told that by somebody in one of the stores. So
I see.
I
Okay.
forgot, and he reminded me. So
And then tomorrow we're going to do Sedona and drive up through Oak Creek Canyon.
which will take about 6
and
hours.
Flagstaff. Yes. Well, 6 hours just
6
to
hours
get to
just
Sedona.
to get through Sedona.
Exactly. And then we're going to do Grand Canyon and then back home.
Yes.
And they're going to go back home themselves. They're going to do on some more adventures.
And that's why we're recording this episode early.
Yeah. so
Because
that,
we
can
got
go
the Grand Canyon weekend
have
thing.
fun with them and not have to worry about recording this. And
We don't
get
have to
it all
rush
ready.
back to get it done.
Exactly. So anything else?
No, not really. What else is there?
That's about it. And we're running out of time. So here we go. And here's Ben with our wacky recap.
This is the weekly review. These are the articles that we run on our website at tggeeks.com, and the links for each of these episodes. See, I'm hungover. The links for each of these articles will be found in the show notes for this episode number 327 at tggeeks.com, starting with Sunday, May 16th, Nerdy Chupacabras, number 48. On Monday the 17th, TG Geeks episode number 326. On Tuesday the 18th, Arizona Opera announces casting for 50th anniversary season.
It's going to be pretty good.
It's going to be intense and amazing. And now, hats off to Andrea Richoff because she just, wow, she went for the cycle and just nailed it. Wednesday, the 19th, Andrea's Angle, final account, powerful, intense, let us not forget. Thursday, the 20th, Andrea's Angle, Dream Horse, funny and full of hope. And on Friday, the 21st, Andrea's Angle, Pink, All I Know So Far, authentic portrait of a talented woman. And before this episode premieres, we'll have something for Saturday, the 22nd.
Well,
maybe.
Friday was supposed to be Hamish's.
Oh, you're right. That's right. That's
5 questions.
You're right.
With Hudson Phillips.
My bad. Yeah, my
yes,
bad.
you forgot.
I forgot because we ran 2 of these stories on the same day.
Yeah.
Whoops.
See how you are.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
See how I am.
You can find all these things at tggeeks.com.
Have a couple of shout-outs that we need to make. First, to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News for publishing some of our content from time to time. It's put up by the human Arkle, Brian Weber, who you heard him be snarky earlier in this show. You can find the Post-Dispatch News by finding him on Twitter. Search for Arkle at ARKLE. And while you're at it, look for Arkle Studios on YouTube. He has a number of his projects there. His Shameless Cash Grab series, which is now in season 6. Woohoo! His Rants vs. Zombies series, which has officially ended, but you can always listen to past episodes. And he has a new item. It's Arkle Tier Ranks, various things. And his game videos are Trick and Treat as well as Star Trek Online. We also have to give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First, Two Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to the moderators for literally saying we could share away our content there. And their URL is facebook.com/group/Gay Geeks After Hours, and then to The Gay Geek for also allowing pretty much the same. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. Special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Other places we are found are Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Amazon Podcasts, part of Amazon Music, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Sci-Fi Radio, formerly Krypton Radio. We have a replay on Tuesdays at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time. And listen to their other content. They're a 24-hour geeky sci-fi internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out check out the article for this webcast episode. We will have several links on the page, and remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com. Or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357 from TG Squared Studios. I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Continue to be safe. Wear a mask if you're out and about. Get vaccinated. Peace.
Cheers.